What's up YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of The House Show. This is James Law speaking here, and today I'll be discussing with you about assessment rates. This is one of the rates, this is one of the fees that you would have to pay if you were one of the owners lah. Why do you have to pay these fees? How does these fees being calculated? I'll be sharing with you later lah. If you are keen, you can watch this video until the end. Before we dive into details for today's topic, let's discuss a little bit on what is actually an assessment rate first. Assessment rate is something like a tax that you have to pay if you own any properties. Who do you pay these assessment rates to? It's the local council. In our case, in Kuching, we have like 3 councils, right? MBKS, DBKU, MPP. So 3 of those, they are your local council. If the property that you own is under the MBKS council, then you have to pay assessment rates to MBKS lah. Assessment rate is also known as the local land tax. When we were actually paying something, we definitely want to know what is the usage. Why do we have to pay, right? So in these assessment rates, why do we have to pay assessment rate? It's actually for the council to maintain the public spaces for us. To explain a little bit further, it's not only in terms of maintaining the existing public spaces, but to develop even more in the future with this assessment rate collected from the existing owners. For example, sometimes we have seen people cleaning the parks. We have this garbage collector collecting garbage from our house like twice a week. These assessment rates is being paid in order to get such services. How does this assessment rate is being calculated? There's a formula to calculate this assessment rate. If you haven't owned any property, then this assessment rate that actually comes in a letter form. They'll post it to your place. The calculation of the assessment rates goes like this: the annual rentable value multiplied by the rate. So the rate, right, they have a schedule for it. For example, like they have they provide you with this service, then they charge this rate. Also, to take note on that, different zones have different rate as well. So maybe under your council there are 2 zones. So those 2 zones, the rate charges might be different as well. For this annual rentable value, is actually found in the letter that they have posted to your house. They will use that particular figures to multiply by the rate that has been calculated for your area. Do take note, the calculation of assessment rate that you have to pay, it's in a year. For example, today the annual rentable value for this property is 1,000, and then the rate that they are charging for this particular property is 30% annually. So that will be 300 ringgit, right? Because it's paid twice a year. So they actually divide this 300 ringgit into 150 and 150. So 2 payments that totals up to 300 ringgit. How do you actually settle your assessment rates then? Nowadays, I'll say it's quite senang lah, because they accept basically every kind of like payments. Cash, check, JunPay, online transfer, everything acceptable. You can also pay these assessment rates at the POSLAJU as well, even like TELEKOMs, SESCO, if I remember correctly, that accept payments of these assessment rates too. However, do check that if this POSLAJU, the payments that they accept, it's only cash, while for this SESCO, TELEKOM, maybe the payment that they accept is different, so do check it out. The assessment rate that I mentioned all this while for this episode is not only for residential property. It's not only for residential property. Every single property you have to pay assessment rate, be it like commercial use, industrial or residential. Our Sarawak government, they recently announced that the Sarawakians are having this 25% discount for these assessment rates. For residential property, that the assessment rate is 400 ringgit and above, you get 25% discount. Same goes to commercial and industrial property as well lah, under this BKSS 5.0. I think to me, this discount actually lessen our burden in order to pay all the taxes to the government during this pandemic. I guess that's all for this episode. If you have learned something already from this video, remember to give it a like, share it, and even subscribe to my channel. This is James Law speaking here once again, and thank you for watching till the very end. hopefully to see you again in the next episode. See you there.